conversations and storytelling helps us connect with each other, teaches us relatable life lessons, and helps us define who we are as humans. Let's talk. This podcast is focused around women from all walks of life, how we grow, navigate, impact the world that we live in to tell the often untold story. The Rise of Woman is a story of loss, growth, triumph, inspiration, fabulous failure, and all in between. Warning, in this podcast, there is cursing and adult content.
Hello, my name is Michelle Haggerty, and I'm 37 years old. My zodiac sign is Aries. Today, I have a lot to do, and I'm just happy to have 3 minutes with you right now. So I don't even know where I am or what I'm doing, but I'm excited. And you are listening to LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast.
That's Michi, and in this episode, you will hear the unapologetic story of a creative, a woman that overcomes, a mother, an entrepreneur, a wife, and so much more.
Okay, y'all. I'm so excited. Michi is my season 1 closer, and it is so appropriate to her in her life. She is the closer. The reason you inspire me is because you do everything, and you're phenomenal, and you're like my spirit animal. Like, if I could pick a human as a spirit animal, it'd be Michi. You've gone through so much, and your outlook on life is so positive. It inspires me, because I'm like, I stub my toe and I'm pissed off for the rest of the month about it. And I'm like, woe is me. But you're like, it's fine. There's 9 other toes. We're doing good. So I really, really am excited to sit down with you and talk with you on my podcast, especially to close out the season, like I said. Okay, what's a moment that has impacted your life the most?
One or...
First one that comes to mind, maybe.
Well, so when you were just talking a second ago about, things that you've been through and how you just hush, move on, I feel like, and I've said this more than once, I feel like I am defined by tragedy or the things that I've overcome. I mean, I guess it depends on which way you look at it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm like, my name's Michelle, and I'm fill in the blank with all the crap that's happened in the past. So I don't want to look at it as I'm a so-and-so victim or a survivor. And lately I've just been thinking of what is the word that would describe me? And I guess it would be survivor, because I could look at myself as a victim, which those are actually the words that is used a lot. So cancer victim, I'm a widow, which is, another victim of war or whatever. But I guess I have to look at it in terms of things that I have to survive through and things that have happened to me and just the weirdest, most random thing. And so that's why I can't really always narrow it down into one thing. In my mind, it's always 2 things, but I can start with the first.
Okay.
Which is, I was 21, and that's my husband was killed in Iraq, and we had a little boy, and he had just turned 2 right after my husband died. And I feel like it's a defining thing. I don't want to be defined by the things, I guess defined by tragedy is what it seems to be a lot of. This is Michelle, and she's been through blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's so recent, maybe just the past couple months, that I've actually looked at it in a different way, instead of it being a tragedy and me, and that defining me. I think it's the overcoming, and then just, I wouldn't call it overcoming, because overcoming seems like something that you're actively doing. I've just passively just made it through life, and when I look back, it feels like, oh, okay, yeah, I overcame that, but really, I was just getting shit done, get shit doner. And my son just graduated high school, and I feel like this last Memorial Day, a couple of weeks ago, just been really good bookend to all of it, and people are asking me how I'm dealing with it, and I was fine up until Memorial Day, and I'm like, man, everything is, I think I'm actually going to have to deal with being a widow now. 16 years later.
Because the son of your late husband is now graduating.
Right, and moving away, and I've had to, just see family and everything, and it's just a lot of things have just really come back into my life of certain decisions I've made all along the way, and thinking, did I make the right decision? Did I do that right? How many people are looking at me like, oh, you should never have done that? Should I have gotten remarried? Should I have had more kids? Should I have opened a gym? Should I have gotten an art degree instead of a nursing degree or a law degree? Should I have done all of these things? Should I have moved on and married and built this rich life that everybody thinks is so awesomely chaotic? Or should I have just been the lonely old widow with my one kid and just really honed in and focused on that guy, you know? Which is what I originally was like, I'm never getting married again. This is what I'm going to do. It's just me and Elijah. I'm going to buy 2 headstones. When I die, I'm getting buried there next to Daniel.
Yeah. When you're saying that you kind of just power through, is it the fact that you said you just kind of overcome things, right? And you just keep going and you're just pushing through. But isn't it the same, essentially, powering through? And I almost feel like you're not wanting to give yourself the credit, because I think that you have powered through and you've beat the adversity and everything else, and it may have been you just conducting and going on with life, but you still powered through. And it may just be your auto, but looking from the outside in, you're doing that shit.
I think when you're going through stuff, you don't realize how hard it is until you look back sometimes. I mean, yes, it's hard when you're going through stuff and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then people are like, take it one day at a time. But I'm not I don't feel like I am, because I'm always thinking about what I'm supposed to be doing next. I have so much anxiety about what I'm supposed to be doing, this and that.
What's your average day like right now?
So now, so we own a gym, and I open it every morning at 5:30-ish.
What's the name of your gym?
Metroflex Gym in San Marcos.
Yes.
What? So I normally, I'm up by 4:30, hit snooze a million times, attempt to take a shower, but I really don't. I just brush my teeth, put on whatever I have, and I walk out the door in whatever shoes I can find, or flip-flops, and then I open the gym, make some coffee, train some clients. So I have a group of ladies that I train 3 days a week, and I actually just took a break this month because things have been so crazy. I was like, y'all need a reset so I can give to you what I've been needing to give to you, but I need to give to myself for a minute. But it's been like this for the past almost 3 or 4 years. So I train some ladies, and we have a little prayer time afterwards, and then I just start my day from there. Figure out which kid needs to go where, who's got what appointment. If I'm doing a fundraiser like I'm doing right now, which I feel like I'm always raising funds or doing some kind of nonprofit something or other.
You are.
I really am.
I told you you're my spirit animal.
It's and it's at the end everything just kind of falls together, even though you stress about it all the time. That's where I am. I'm right now I'm right at the end of one. Okay. So, but that's normally how my day starts. Now, how it ends, it really is always something different, just depending on which kid has wrestling practice or which kid has a dentist appointment. There's 5 kids, by the way.
I was going to ask you, how many kids do you have
there
in order?
There are now 5. So Elijah's my 18-year-old, one that just graduated from my first husband. And then the next 2 are my stepchildren. So a 17-year-old daughter, 16-year-old son, and then with my current husband right now, the 2 that we have together are the 5-year-old and the 3-year-old.
A true blended family. Yeah. From a lot of different backgrounds and adversity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. So it just depends on who needs to be picked up from school, who needs to be taken somewhere. But on top of that, I am also, I do spray tans for some side cash. Not side cash. It's for bills. But for all that. So spray tanning, and then if I have time, I'll make art in the evening. I used to try to make art in the evening when everybody went to sleep. But what I started to do is after I train my clients, if I set myself a goal, I'll try to do some drawings or paintings at the gym before the busy crowd comes in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how my day goes. At the end of the day, it's trying to figure out dinner and putting kids to bed or picking kids up again later in the evening because somebody gets home at midnight.
Did you get married right out of high school or?
All right. So what had happened was I was enrolled at University of North Texas in Denton. I was wanting to do either fashion design or set design, something in the art world.
How old were you?
18. Okay. I graduated at 18. I had already moved out of the house and lived with his parents. So my senior in high school, I lived with his parents, and he'd already decided to join the military, which I ironically told him if he joins the military, I'm not going to marry him. But I did anyway. So I graduated high school, and I was going to do some kind of art thing. I was enrolled at UNT, had my housing already picked out, the deposit, and he came home on block leave, and then we just got married.
What's block leave?
Married. So in the military, when you work for a certain amount of time, you can take about a 2-week period of vacation, I guess. And it was shortly after he'd already joined the Ranger Battalion, and he'd already been in almost a year at that point. And, or no, 6 months, I don't know. He'd just finished all of his schooling. Basically, you come home, if you're married, you come home, you get your wife, and you move, kind of thing. So he came home to visit, and then we're just sitting there, and we're like, so let's get married. We just got married with just the piece. And then we moved away to Georgia, and so I just kind of ditched college. And then as soon as we moved to Georgia, I enrolled in a school there, at a school called Chattahoochee Valley Community College.
All right, Chattahoochee Valley.
And immediately I got a scholarship in art because I had AP credit. So I got a scholarship in art, and then I got a scholarship in theater. Okay, so everything, I guess my life it's always just been one thing leading me to another. And when I look back, everything makes sense now.
Sequence.
But it did not make sense back then.
Of course not. It never does when you're doing it.
Yeah, so I ended up doing theater a lot, and then I got pregnant in the middle of a 6-week run show, and I was like one of the dancers, and I was pregnant, so at 18, and I looked like I was 15, so it was just a weird life. Shortly after I had him, my husband decided to, I only got in like maybe a semester or two of school out, and then he decided that he wanted to get out of the Ranger Battalion. He's like, I want to be in something that's a little bit less quote-unquote dangerous. I just want to be regular Joe Schmo Army, come home at so-and-so time, because the Rangers do all kinds of different stuff. It's a very different world than regular infantry. So he decided to get out of Airborne Rangers and just be regular Army. And so he put in his orders and for 4th ID to come to Texas, back home. And so I'm going to be in Fort Hood, which was just right close to where home was, so we were going to move back to Texas with his family. And right after he did that, that's when 9/11 happened. All of his Ranger guys went out to Afghanistan, secret hush-hush mode. Nobody knew about it until like way after. And he didn't go with them. I'm going to stay behind and watch the fort with me and my newborn. And then when they came back is when we moved to Fort Hood. And then ironically, he was with the first group of infantry to go out to overseas in Iraq. Like, wow. Yeah, so he was probably, he was that first group of people. So, and it was right after they had declared war over. Remember how like the war was like a minute long? Yeah.
And there was no war.
Yeah, the war was over, and then we sent a bunch of people over. So we moved back, and so he's in 4th ID, and I started school, and then that's when he got orders that he was going to have to leave. It was just so fast because Elijah was only 18 months when he left. So, this time span is just so short. So I'd gotten a couple semesters in of my basics for nursing school, got into the nursing program, and then Daniel died. He was one of the first ones to go, and then he's also one of the first ones to die. So I think he was like number 356.
Yeah.
And I remember my art teacher saying, you need to do what you want to do, and you need to do what you need to do, but it's not nursing. And he was right. So, and it's not where I wanted to be or needed to be. And so my best friend, it was right after, I guess it was July 2003, and it was right after my son turned 2, semester had ended, summer session, and then I had to make that decision. Am I going to stay here and be a nurse? I have no idea what I'm going to do. And then my best friend just like literally grabbed me by the arm and she's like, you are coming to San Marcos. You're going to do art. You're going to come to school here at Texas State. And that's how I ended up in San Marcos.
Okay. So how did you find out that your husband passed away?
A knock at the door. I actually had a dream about it. So this is before all the phone lines were set up and everything. There was no Skype at the time. There's no, not everybody had a cell phone back then.
Right.
And I'd maybe gotten one phone call from Daniel, and it was on Elijah's birthday, and we got to say hi, and then it got staticky, and the phone died. And then I had a dream that he had called, and he was telling me that he loved me, and I just remember it being really staticky, and then like this banging noise, and it woke me up. And it wasn't until I looked back and I realized it felt like maybe some kind of premonition dream, because I 100% believe in all that.
I do too.
Yeah, and I remember it so clearly, of waking up and having this just strange feeling. And it was, I don't know how much longer later, a week, 2 weeks, is when there was that knock at the door. And I heard it, I woke up, and I was the one that answered the door. And there's two guys in their military dress, greens, and they asked, they're like, are you Michelle Methvin, wife of Daniel Methvin? And it was not awake. And I just remember my hair being in my face. I'm like, yeah, hold on. And I just closed the door in their face. And I kind of knew what was going on. And then I walked upstairs to my in-laws' room. So my in-laws lived there, and my sister-in-law lived there because she was getting her psychology degree. It was like everybody moved into the house all at the same time.
Right.
And I said, hey, there's some guys at the door, and they're military, and they're at the door. And so they just jumped out of bed. And so we went downstairs, just sat on the couch, let them in. I mean, just, what they're going to say.
You already knew what happened.
Yeah, and then they said it. We were kind of quiet. I was like, okay, thank you. You can go now. So we were like, there's a little bit of crying, and thank you, you can go away. And we walked him out, because this poor guy is like, that is
a hellfire job.
Yeah, and they don't have any relation. They don't know the soldier that died. They just know that they have to deliver that news. And so I don't wish that on anyone, because that was rough. And so I remember thinking, I gotta let these guys go so we can deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And they walked out, and I think that was it. And then after that, that's why earlier when I was telling you about like the overcoming thing, I just, everything is just, you're in survival mode, and you just go, and everything just kind of feels like you're in a haze for a long time. So whenever, and you've lost your dad recently,
yeah.
That everything feels surreal.
Yep.
This feels like a dream. And then times you wake up and you're like, I don't even know how I did that, but I did get that done.
Yeah,
so,
like a website launch and a art party.
Yes, like, and you're like, I don't know how it happened.
I think I just had to do it.
Yeah,
for my sanity.
And it's what keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that I've recognized in how I survive is I just got to keep moving.
Yeah.
If I stop moving, I just feel like I'm not going to pick back up.
Yeah.
And I also had he was a 2-year-old at the time, and when you have kids, that first year you're on survival mode, you have no idea what's going on, especially if it's your first kid. You're just, everything feels like a guessing game. This is internet, high-speed internet.
Right.
Everything was dial-up. So you have a book that
that
says,
book with the mom on the front.
What to expect when you're expecting.
Yes.
That is all I had.
That is the Bible for everyone. My mom has like 2 copies, and I think she read it, and I think she's given it to everybody, and I've seen it in women that have kids' houses. Like, we have the Bible.
It was, and it still is, and it's like, but that's all I had. That and some like advice from neighbors I hardly knew, and looking back, I was like, not need their advice. I should not have taken their advice on those things, but I just, for a year or 2, you're in survival mode, just being a mom.
How did your family take the news of you getting married, ditching college, moving away, coming back, becoming a widow or a mother, then a widow, and then fast forward to being married? How'd your family take that big old, like, who you are? Because
I don't think my family really takes who I am. I think my in-laws do. My first set of in-laws. because I've just learned a lot about life from them. I guess, you know what, I did from my own family, but living with somebody else my senior in high school was just a whole new perspective on how to handle certain situations.
Like what?
Talking. Like
versus what?
Talking about feelings versus like the joy club version of life, you know, when you're, you know, being Asian. I'm Filipino, but it's still Asian, and it's very much, no, you go to school, you become a doctor. We have no feelings, you know, and even though obviously having a sister and there's feelings and yelling and she was flying across the house, there's not really any dealing with things, and I did not learn any of valuable skills of communicating, connecting with people.
You are listening to the LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast. That's LRI Let's Talk on Instagram. Hit me up and DM me with your comments and questions.
Looking back, it's a whole different world now that I'm grown up with kids. Now I get it. But living with the Methvins, you know, my mother-in-law, we just sat and had coffee and we talked a lot. The whole family was like that, and it kind of changed who I am in the sense of being less aggressive of a personality. Well, I still have an aggressive personality, but at least trying to understand where people are coming from, you know, or at least understanding that when somebody says something, it's not always a personal attack on me, and I don't have to take everything so personal. But when we decided to get married, my family was not happy with that. They were also not happy with me moving out,
right?
You know, as a senior in high school. But you know, my dad was military, so he wasn't really there. He was living in New York or something like that.
Right.
And my mom was not happy with it. But looking back, and this does, like Elijah graduating right now, it really brought up a lot of memories of me not being home my senior year in high school. And I couldn't really relate to a lot of things with Elijah about how much he just wants to get out. And it's like, I get it. You're not going.
Yeah.
You know,
lockdown.
Like, you will not go. You will stay here. I mean, it's not like you had anywhere to go, but I mean, you kind of did. But I'm like, don't be like me. Don't be like me. Don't move out and stay away. You know, please stay here. Let me hold you. But my mom wasn't happy about it. My family just wasn't. Like, she was mad, you know, and my father was mad. But then come to find out, so we got married just for the peace. My grandma came. Daniel's grandma was there. So we've got pictures with them. And later on, I found out that my mom was trying so hard. She's a social worker, and she had court that day. And she said she had her camera ready, and we were going to Bell County Courthouse, and she was like, as soon as I get a break, I'm going to go find him, and she was going to go take pictures. And I found that out later, and that really, this was a long time later, and it made me feel a lot better. You know, like they actually were okay with it, us getting married.
You never knew it until then.
I didn't know until afterwards.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, and but we got there, and the JP wasn't there, so we ended up going to Colleen to get married instead, and so she missed it.
Yeah.
But knowing that she was trying to make the effort was a world of difference.
Yeah,
so.
and it's crazy just even in that story how you think about how technology has changed shit.
Oh, there was no phones.
Yeah, no, because now it would be like, you know, I'd be there and you'd be like, bitch, text my mom.
Where are you?
Right, and
We're
tell
about to
her.
go.
And if she doesn't have it, we can get her an Uber or a Lyft or a ride share. So that's so crazy. So then when...
in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, such
so
a...
different.
Like the world just quick.
So different.
So when you moved back to Texas and your late husband Daniel passed, what was your dynamics with your family then?
Which family? Well, I mean,
Your biological family.
It just changes everything, you know. My sister was there. You know, I remember just shortly after he died, and everybody just coming over, you know, and we sat on the back porch a lot. I smoked a lot of cigarettes. I drank a lot of rum and coke, you know, and we just hung out on the back porch a lot. My mom would come over. Oh, my mom, you know, was just freshly remarried with my little brother. And I you know, life is always counterbalanced, you know, or death is always counterbalanced with another life.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that my little brother was the one that was there, like, at that time. You know, so you just kind of focus on the babies. You know, my two nieces, one was just a year older. One's a year younger than Elijah. And my older one, she remembers Daniel, you know, and she remembers the funeral stuff. And it was just a lot of people. We had letters pouring in from all over the country, you know, because it's not just a death of a husband, but it's someone that was killed in war.
Right.
And he was definitely the first one in our area, in the Belton Temple Clean Fort Hood area.
They made it real because, like...
Yeah, it was in all the papers. If you could find it on the internet, it's on there too. I mean, we still have a bunch of them. There was... I mean, people just came in flooding from everywhere. So my family, it was great being in a place. I was glad that it happened where it happened. I was with my mom, my dad, my sister, Daniel's sister.
You had a
my
bubble.
in-laws.
You
I
had support.
everybody, and I needed it. And friends from high school. I think in times of tragedy and just times of stress, you don't even have a chance to be mad at anybody about anything. I mean, when you have a baby, that always unites people too. So as soon as I was pregnant with Elijah, everybody's like, "All right, we're family. I like Daniel now." You know, you're no longer my 18-year-old baby girl, and I had him, you know, shortly after I turned 19.
Your husband passes. Right before that, you have a child. So you are a widow with a toddler. And then what happens next?
Okay, so I moved to San Marcos to go to Texas State, just because my best friend told me to. And I just really, she's like, "You're not wasting away here in Belton doing nothing, and you need to be an artist." So she literally brought me over, made me apply, and within a day, I applied. I went to a new student orientation. She sat me down, built my schedule for me, showed me how to do it because she was already enrolled at Texas State. And then as we were driving home, I think I had a cell phone at this time, I found a daycare for Elijah. And so that's how I ended up here in San Marcos.
That's crazy.
And I just stayed. I actually wasn't even going to bring Elijah because I was just so sure that I couldn't do it. Couldn't be a single mom, so I was going to leave him with my in-laws. I was like, "You guys can raise him. I'm going to go to school and we'll figure it out because I can't do this."
Wow.
Yeah, and then when I was like, "I got a daycare, he's coming with me," because I told him that I was going to leave him, and they're like, "Okay, baby, it's whatever you need." And then when I said I'm bringing him with, they're like, "Okay, baby, good." like good. That's what you need. Yeah. I was like, we weren't going to tell you, but we're happy that you're going to do that. And so I moved here as a single mom. And I guess it was like a reinvention. I could have been a reinvention of myself because back home everybody knew me as Michelle. You know, Michelle Wilson that married Daniel and he died. And then Elijah here, you know, every single person he met, he was like, "My name is Elijah Scott Meffin. My dad died." And I was like, "All right, thank you. Thank you, little icebreaker."
Toddlers.
Like,
man, toddlers.
But anywho, so yeah, is there a discount for that? So I got my degrees. And I met, there's all other kind of stuff in there, but I met Daniel Haggerty that I'm married to now at the gym, of course. Kind of MySpace stalked him for a little while. Do you remember that?
Girl, MySpace.
You know, we'll fast forward through how that happened, but we ended up getting married, and I don't think people weren't too keen on that. So because I got married, I lost health insurance through, you know, military. So being a surviving spouse, I still received financial aid from military staff.
Yeah, you gave up a lot to be with your new husband,
and that was a point of contention in my relationship with Daniel Haggerty, the one I'm with now. Is that I kind of had to make that choice if I wanted to be with, you know, Daniel Haggerty. I had to give up being married to Daniel Methvin. Yeah. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
I mean, I'm not romantic, so I know. I'm not very romantic. But I do believe in God, and I do what he says. So I do now. There was a lot of turmoil between Daniel Haggerty and I when we were just dating. And we moved in together. I bought a house and he moved in with me and the kids. And he's severely bipolar, severely unmitigated, and basically shit at the fan, you know, and we broke up. And of course my family was going to hate him after that. But it was in that time that I became a Christian and then I found God. And part of that was through me pointing the finger at Daniel Haggerty. It's like, you think you're so awesome. You think God loves you when you suck, you know? And he never backfired at me. And it was a really big deal to see, oh, okay, well, I guess Christians aren't all jerks.
Right. And you saw it in his actions and not his words.
There was that. And I had some friends that kept inviting me to church. And I was like, I need to go because I was just wasted. Like literally wasted. Woke up, hungover, stressed out, and I just heard church bells, and I just felt like I heard God say, just go. And I went to church, and it was that day that I started praying. And that was the day that I had heard God tell me, you know, I was praying, and I'm like, I don't really know how to do this. Everybody's got their hands up, and I'm Catholic, and I don't want to touch anyone. Don't touch me. I'm not putting my arms up in the air, and I'm not singing out loud. You know, it's not happening. And I just remember God saying, you know, pick one. I know that sounds so weird, but I remember that.
It doesn't sound weird.
Clear as day. God was like, just pick a Daniel, you know, and if you stay, if you want to be with, you know, single and alone, you're not alone, but it's like, I'll be here with you. You can, you know, be Elijah's mom, Michelle Methvin, right? And you keep your health insurance, your whatever monthly stipends, remain the widow, you'll be okay, I'll take care of you, you'll be okay. And then he said, you know, I remember him saying, if you go with Daniel Haggerty, you know, you have to marry him, it'll be okay. Life will be hard, it'll be harder, but it'll be okay. And I remember that all in like a split second of singing and praying or whatever, or not singing and praying. And that's when I kind of decided I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I feel like I've always lived my life based off of doing the things that I've been told to do and what my mom says to do or what I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm supposed to go to school. I'm supposed to get a degree. I'm supposed to live my life based off how much income I'm going to make. I've never based my life, I never thought I would be the type of person that based my life off of love. But then I basically, you know, eloped with the first marriage. And then this one, I'm like, all right, let's do it. Let me throw everything away again for this guy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I don't have regrets about it, but I do have, those are the things that have been the bookend of it just recently. I was like, you need to go to counseling because you got a lot of stuff going on. And
you do.
All those emotions are coming back.
Okay. And so then after you married Daniel Haggerty.
Yes.
Then is that when you got sick, or how'd you find out you had cancer?
So the second baby. So we got married, I think a year later, got pregnant with Lincoln, and then trying to lose weight. And I started video vlogging before it was even called vlogging. And then I found I was knocked up with Quinn. I was like, damn it. And
technically, you're not knocked up because you're married.
Well, whatever. What? I don't know. Either way, I peed on the stick and I cried. And I was like, oh my God, I told you so. And
what? Every woman isn't like ecstatically
This is so wonderful. No, all three of my babies were not planned. All three of my babies were like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay. I just didn't think that I could get pregnant. Dan was old. Like, we were older, you know? And
how
like,
old were y'all at the time?
I don't know. Like, we were probably in our 30s, I think. Or he's like almost, I don't know. What am I, 37? Subtract 5 years. 32. 31 when I was pregnant.
Okay, yeah, you can definitely have kids.
Yes, I know. We just didn't assume that we just assumed that we weren't going to get pregnant because it hadn't happened and it wouldn't happen. And Elijah happened like that.
Yeah.
But it was when I was pregnant with Quinn, when I went into labor, I was trying to do home birth, and I was decided about a week or two before I just didn't want to do a home birth. I just wanted to be at the hospital where, you know, after I have the baby, I can nurse him, and then if I want to sleep, and I can just send him away. That sounds bad.
No, it doesn't.
And it's like, I'm going to eat, and nobody's going to knock on the door and be like, Mommy, can I have some water? You know, anyway, I just wanted to be at the hospital where I didn't have to worry about cooking or cleaning for anybody else or answering anything like that. I mean, I still did payroll in the hospital bed. That's just what you do. But I just didn't want to deal with anyone but my baby.
Right.
And so it was about a week before I had Quinn, 2 weeks before. And then I ended up having an emergency C-section, and that's when they found the cancer.
Where?
On my ovary. So took Quinn out, got my kiss, snapped a photo, and then he went away with Daniel, and then just kept taking forever. And I remember I was like, I had super high anxiety. They had to give me some meds to calm my anxiety down after they took Quinn out. And I thought they were just stitching me up, and it just kept taking forever. And I remember asking them, I was like, hey, are you guys done yet? And then they just got a little quiet, and they're like, well, okay, Michelle, I just don't move right now or anything. Just keep your hands where they are. Your uterus it's on your chest right now, so don't move your hands. And I guess I was flailing my arms. I don't even know, because I was so drugged up and freezing. And I was like, I asked them if they were done. They said no, and they told me that there was a mass. They said a cyst on my ovary. So there's a cyst on your ovary, and we're going, we're just talking about how we want to remove it right now. So everything's going to be okay. It's just going to take a little bit longer than expected.
And this was your first kid?
This is the second.
The second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd already had Lincoln, and then you fast forward like a year or something like
Got
that.
it. So you were pregnant and had a child with cancer in your body. That is...
I had no idea.
Wow.
I thought it was his foot.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like a big knot or something. It was like the size of a softball, they said. And they were trying to take it out. I heard them talking, and like there's a cyst. I was like, and they're like, we're trying to save your ovary. We're just trying to take it out. I was like, you can take it. I already have a lot of kids. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, we're gonna take it, but you still have your other one, and you can still have kids. I was like, all right. Well, you can take them both then. And they did not think that was funny.
Did they take them both?
Was funny. No.
So you still have an ovary?
No, I did end up having to go back later. So they left it in. They took out one, left the other, stitched me up. 5 days after he was born, so he was 5 days old. That's when our house was flooded and we evacuated. So with the newborn, the toddler, 3 teenagers, 2 dogs.
The flood, San Marcos had
the San Marcos flood.
Okay.
And so we had to evacuate our home. We were living in the hotel, trying to find a place to move to so that our house could be renovated, because it was, the whole first floor was just gone and ripped out. And so it was during that time, during that transition time, I went for my follow-up, and I went by myself with the baby, and which I shouldn't be carrying at that point, but I was like, I have to carry this car seat because everybody's dealing with my house being flooded right now. So I went in, and that's when she handed me the paper, and she told me that I had cancer. And then we just dealt with it from there. I mean, it took a while, but then I had a hysterectomy right after, my C-section kind of healed up a little bit. Decided to have the flu for a little bit, got over that, then had my hysterectomy, and then I did 6 rounds of chemo.
And you lost your hair?
Yeah.
How'd you rock that?
I looked like Uncle Fester with red lipstick. That's what I feel like I looked
So you
like.
wore red lipstick? Was that like your power color?
I think so. I mean, we, people did fundraisers for us. So like even we go back to like helping others. Mm-hmm. The city of San Marcos, I feel like they just rose to like help everybody during the floods. But I feel like with us, it was just amazing. There were 2 giant fundraisers that people threw for us. Mm-hmm. A friend did a GoFundMe. And then a friends of mine did a swim-a-thon, and then another gym actually did a powerlifting meet, a lift-a-thon for us at our gym to help our business, and just help keep everything afloat. And I think I used to just say, just put your red lipstick on and just do it. Put your big girl panties on, put your red lipstick on, let's go. Let's do what you got to do. And I think it just became my thing for a while. So we had shirts that say "Kick Cancer's Butt" and with like little red lipstick print on it. And so that just kind of seemed to be the thing. But I shaved my head before because I knew I was going to lose all my hair, and I had dreadlocks. And
I think you told me that.
Yeah. The dreads are probably past my shoulders. I tried combing them out. My hair was like way past my butt. And when I was going through one of my surgeries, anesthesiologist had mentioned that she had dreads and she had saved them. When I shaved my head, I had saved them, and it was a friend of mine. She's like, girl, you can just sew them back in. And I was like, what?
Too weird.
Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Do you still have them?
Yes.
Okay.
I do.
I've seen
I
people
had wigs
do that.
and everything, and I hardly ever wore the wigs because especially I put a wig on once, drew in my eyebrows, and my oldest son and Daniel, they just kind of looked at me like, I was like, great. You took too long to say it looked good. Now it looks terrible. I can't do this. And then the baby looked at me like, who are you? Because he only knew me bald, really. I mean, by the time his vision really started coming in, I'd already shaved my head. So, but my sister and some friends, they all cut their hair off, and we had a custom wig made for me. And that's when I put it on, and people looked at me like I had a third eyeball, so I just never wore it.
It wasn't your thing.
No, so I just wore, red bandana, red lipstick, and that was it. And anyway, so one day dreads are coming back.
Would you rather be crazy rich or deeply in love?
Oh, my God. I don't know. I guess in love. That's so funny because I'm not like gushy, huggy, feely person, you know? Like I don't like being in love because I feel like it's a weakness.
Yeah.
Like it makes you weak.
Oh, I feel you.
But there is so much love in my life.
There is.
It's good. And I've been rich. So after Daniel died, I had his entire life insurance.
Yeah.
And it was invested, and it was single mom, me, and Elijah. And this was another one of the factors that other people just don't understand. And that when I decided to marry Daniel Haggerty, and they're like, well, you're going to lose all this money. It's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you haven't lost a husband, so you don't really know what it's like.
Yeah. Feels like blood money.
It does. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. That's a good way of putting it. It doesn't feel like it's mine. And even though I could buy the things that I wanted to when I wanted to, I experienced a lot of things. I'd gone to Europe and I'd done those things, but it's really not fulfilling. And right now, we're pretty broke all the time.
Yeah.
And we're not perfect, but we are in love, and I love my babies, all 15,000 of them. And all my gym babies, and I guess I would much rather just be. I guess love. I guess I choose love. Love is good.
That's hilarious. Okay, so
I just don't like admitting it.
Yeah,
because you and I are. You get it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Before I, dated Daniel Haggerty.
Yeah.
I had a boyfriend for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And we were just so perfect on paper. But the love and the passion wasn't there.
Paper is a bitch.
It just didn't work. Like, we functioned really well. We never fought,
And it seemed well.
Yeah, but it was so easy to break up. And it sucks, for him. And, like, I felt...
I love your side note, like, for him. Sorry, bitch.
I mean, I feel bad, but I don't, because, I was just holding him off from, I think he's married now.
Yeah.
Keeping him from somebody else, And that was another thing that when I decided to marry Daniel Haggerty, that was another thing that I remember God was telling me, that it's like, if you don't want to marry him, you need to let him go so that he can, because that man loves hard. You know, he is both of them are just crazy bipolar, bald men named Daniel that love hard.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying what you're hearing? Follow us on Instagram at LRI Let's Talk.
What are your final words before you die?
Oh my God, I feel like it would have to be a joke.
It'd have to be. Well, because the reason, like, it's really, like, profound asking you this question, because you've faced death not only from what was supposed to be your life partner, traditionally speaking, but then you also, like, had a child and another child and another child, and everybody knows more, what is it, like, death rates for women of color, mortality rates for women of color, like, increase the darker you are, like, literally. If we just did it like that. So that's another, y'all have to sign your lives away when you have kids, especially C-sections, and especially the C-section after. And then you had cancer. And so, like, have you thought about, like, what your final words would be?
No. Just now,
I feel like if you were dying, you'd bark out.
I just feel so bad. Like I always just say, I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. Like, I don't know. My tombstone might have to say, like, hey, now she finally gets a nap. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. Because I feel like I'm such a goober. Like, every time I hear myself speak or the things that I say, I'm like, oh my God.
So what do you do for yourself right now?
All right. So this is what I did. I actually started a secret Facebook group with some girlfriends.
Okay.
I think I told you about this.
You did.
My mom. So it's it's out there now, but maybe we'll see. But it's basically moms that don't judge each other that like to partake in a beverage occasionally.
Dope.
With or without kids. If you're nursing and drinking a beer, I'm not judging. I don't care.
Okay.
You're nursing your baby. Good job. So we're not getting smashed with our kids or anything like that, but I have definitely been taking more time for myself. But there's so much mom guilt that goes along with it. It's hard, and I think that's one thing that's been really great about this group of women. We don't all get together all the time. It's just little by little, I'm adding different women into my circle that we can all get to know each other. And sometimes we'll meet up for like a quick 45-minute lunch right before we pick up kids, or something like that. And then sometimes it might just be us moms, but different moms will meet up and find somebody else that they can connect to. So it's not always me being the one that's entertaining, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And so it's been really nice connecting other women. And I feel like the thing that I do for enjoyment really is just networking and being around a lot of women, so much like you. This is why we are each other, is that it's just connecting other women and being around them and just listening to other women. Like, it does it for me.
It really does.
Yeah.
It feeds your soul.
Yeah.
And
I mean, with alcohol. Like, that makes it better.
Yeah. The alcohol is so much.
Part of it.
What's something that you really like about yourself?
My hair.
Okay. What about your hair?
Is
Is
your
your hair
my
different?
thing. Yeah. I mean, I don't really care for my hair right now, but when I get the dreads, I'll be excited about it. And then I'll shave and I got a head tattoo after I lost all my hair.
I've seen it, like, and I'm like, what is
that? You
that?
can see it peek through. People think I'm
peek
bleeding because it's red. It's flowers. But there's just something, like, I feel like it's crazy how much you're characterized, like I've said this before, like how much you're characterized by your tragedy in my life, right? But I think for the one thing that I had that was like me, that wasn't of somebody else, like my husband dying wasn't something that was of me. It was somebody else that died.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the cancer is me, I grew it, but the flood happened to me. It wasn't of me. And I feel like when I lost my hair is when I realized how much I was my hair. How much it identified me.
Ooh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh no, yeah. I've had whole conversations with people about how hair defines you, and especially like as a black woman, and the fact that like we're revolutionizing into our hair now.
Yeah.
And our hair's not ugly and we're not supposed to straighten it anymore, or we don't have to straighten it anymore.
Even in my baldness, it was still my hair, like the little peach fuzz that I had. So shaving off my dreads, like I was so excited to finally have dreads. So I had really curly hair before chemo, and now it's not. It's just kind of like meh. It's not really curly, it's not really straight, and it doesn't feel like me. And that's one reason why I want to go back to dreads, because I felt like me, like when I had them, and I felt like it was maybe because I fidget with them or something like that, but I felt like it just looked like me, like Michelle. And but when I buzz my head, which is something I've always wanted to do, because if you were a 90s chick and you watched Empire Records and you were, like, I was Deb, I was like, I wanted to be her. And so I finally got to shave my head, and I loved the buzz cut. It's just something defining, and I think that was like one of the only things on me that I wasn't always criticizing, because it's definitely not my body or my butt or my boobs. Those are always things that I've always hated. I don't like my teeth. I don't like the way my mouth moves when I talk. I can think of all the things that I hate about myself, and my hair hasn't been one of them. So I think that...
Especially locked. You liked it locked?
I did. I liked it curly, but it always had a ponytail, and I liked it locked. I just liked it big and fat. And I don't know, and somebody pointed out maybe it's because I think, it covers me, and I don't want people to look at me, and I feel like I can hide behind it. And then when it was gone, I couldn't hide behind anything, because it was there. And but even so, even being bald, that's, I don't know, something about hair.
Who inspires you the most, and who do you hope to inspire?
Who inspires me the most? It's so funny. It's my mom and my mother-in-law. So before all of the before I grew up, I did not appreciate and was not inspired by my mom. She was just mean, strict, Filipino lady.
Right.
And Catholic, and everything I did was not good enough, And I've become so much like her, and I get it now. And I've also, when you go through shit, and then your mom finally opens up, which she doesn't really. She opened up to me one time, was being really hard on my sister about her life choices, and my mom, spoke kindly of her and was like, look, everybody's different. When I was y'all's age and I was going through this, you were like me, like we react this way. Your sister reacts a different way. And my mom opened up and told me some things that had happened in her past. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dang, all right. And also being a woman of color, being Filipino, and being an immigrant to the United States, like...
Who, your mother?
My mom, there's all of those things about her that I never thought about growing up, because I guess you don't really appreciate your mom until you're grown up or until you have kids or you move out, and she really does inspire me. And she's beat cancer like 2 or 3 times. One time she didn't even tell me until she got it again, and she's like, oh, it was like the last one. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
Right, yeah. So
talk about women just going through it.
Because
there's kids to take care of and there's a career to chase.
She's like, don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. If you talk about it, you're going to feed it. Don't talk about the bad stuff. So that's kind of how she is. So she's definitely an inspiration to me now. Because like my sister and I, we talk about her as much as we hated her growing up. And now we're like, dude, mom's a badass. And my mother-in-law, my first mother-in-law, because of all of the things that she's taught me on how to be open to others and listening, but also just being open to myself, and it's okay to have feelings, even though I still flinch when people try to hug me sometimes, but there's just things that she said, like some words that she said over the past that always resonate in my mind is you wouldn't be so concerned about what other people thought about you if you knew how little they did. And I have to think about that all the time, even now, and people are so worried about people looking at them in the gym. I don't want to work out because people are starting to be like, they're not looking at you, they're not judging you, they're judging themselves.
Yeah.
More than once I've thought this over time. Like I remember walking through the hospital after, I had precancerous cells a long time ago, like before I was ever even married to Daniel Haggerty. And I just remember, and my mom was going through chemo, or she just had her stroke. She had a stroke, So there's all these things. And I remember thinking about like how shitty I was feeling, and like nobody notices, nobody knows how horrible I feel, And then I realized like, oh my God, how many people in this hospital are going through some shit right now, and we have no freaking clue, And it's like you don't know what somebody's going through unless they tell you,
yeah,
or unless somebody else tells you.
And you don't know people's stories,
and you really don't.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that is something that has really led my curiosity over time, that I have to really, really work on it, because I'm a good listener, but I'm also an interrupter.
Is there anything else that you want to share with me, or tell me, or share with the listeners?
I don't know. I'm just really excited about listening to your other ladies, that you're interviewing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess some of those things that I had said earlier, don't worry so much about what other people are thinking about you. You know what? Just get shit done. That's probably it. We talk about like, I'm just.
Ooh, those are gonna be your final words.
That's probably it. Yes.
All right, right done.
I'm a get shit doneer, and that's like, well, how do you do this? Like, I'm just a get shit doneer. I just got to do it. Get it done. And sometimes you don't even have to think about how you do it. You just do it, and just let God lead your way. Let God lead you when you're getting shit done. That's going to be on my tombstone.
That's dope.
Right?
Okay.
You have to have God, scripture stuff, and cuss words together to be authentic.
Absolutely. I really, really, really appreciate you taking time from your busy mother, 5, wife, philanthropy, artist, owner, and operator of a business with your husband, a gym, and spray tan side hustle to pay bills self, to come and share your story. And as always, I want to thank everybody for listening and closing out season 1 of the podcast. And go about your day, tell your story, be your own brand, live your truth, and stand in your moment.
All right, y'all. My name is Michelle Haggerty. I am 37 years old. I hope y'all have a great day and enjoyed listening to this, and I hope you are excited as I am about closing out season 1. I just really hope y'all get a lot out of this. That's really what it is. I hope y'all get a lot out of it, like I know that I'm going to. And that you keep on, I don't know, I hope that you get shit done. You just listen to my story as I live my truth and stand in my moment on the LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
All right, y'all, that concludes season 1. Be sure to listen to all 12 episodes. And a big thank you to Christina, Nanaz, Anne, Destiny, Francisca, Jay, Zenobia, Asia, Kendra, Jocelyn, Camille, and Michi for being honest and open and willing to tell their unapologetic stories the way they want to tell them in their own time. I appreciate you and all the listeners. As always, like, follow, listen, and share. Until next season, peace, love, and happiness. And don't forget to check out the bloopers on the LRI Infinity Let's Talk podcast, season 1.
Let's talk.